3 contacts, no transponders, no radio, no surface profile, just 3 subsurface signatures materializing on the passive sonar display of the USS Gerald R forward strike group at 3:42 in the morning, 11 nautical miles inside the Strait of Hormuz, moving slow, moving quiet, and moving directly toward the carrier. The sonar technician did not call it out immediately. That is not a failure of training, that is training. You do not announce a contact until you are certain. Until the signature has held long enough, moved consistently enough, behaved in a way that separates it from biologics, from bottom clutter, from the noise the ocean makes when it is not trying to kill anyone. He was certain in 40 seconds. By then, the tactical action officer was already at his station. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, a geometry that works against submarines more than most doctrines acknowledge. Shallow water, heavy surface traffic, acoustic noise from tanker traffic that fills the frequency bands sonar operators spend careers learning to filter. Iran has known this for decades. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates a fleet of midget submarines specifically designed for this environment. Small, quiet, built not for blue water operations, but for coastal denial, for appearing in exactly the kind of acoustic clutter that makes passive sonar difficult, for creating, for a few critical minutes, uncertainty. Uncertainty is the weapon, not the torpedo. Uncertainty. Because a carrier group responding to an uncertain contact responds differently than one responding to a confirmed threat. Uncertainty buys time. Uncertainty buys distance. And in the Strait of Hormuz, at closing speeds, distance is everything. The 3 signatures were not uncertain, not after 40 seconds. Timestamp 3:43 a.m. The forward strike group is not a single ship, it is a network. 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers positioned at distance, their towed array sonars streaming behind them in the dark water, each one feeding data into the same tactical picture. A Los Angeles-class attack submarine running deep and ahead of the formation, its passive arrays listening on frequencies the surface ships cannot reach. Every platform in the group sharing the same picture in real time. When the sonar technician on the forward confirmed 3 subsurface contacts, every ship in the formation already knew. The contacts were moving at 4 knots, slow enough to minimize their own acoustic signature, disciplined, patient, on a vector that placed all 3 of them on converging approach angles to the carrier. Not identical angles, offset angles, designed so that any defensive response to one contact created a geometric vulnerability to another. Someone had done the math carefully before these submarines left port. Timestamp 3:44 a.m. The attack submarine running ahead of the forward changed depth quietly, the kind of depth change that does not announce itself, that does not cavitate, that a trained crew executes at reduced speed over the course of 2 minutes, so that the pressure differential on the hull makes no sound that another passive sonar could detect. It was already inside the triangle the 3 Iranian submarines had formed. It had been there for 6 minutes. What Iran's submarine commanders had not fully accounted for was geometry working in both directions. A triangle of approaching submarines is a converging threat to the carrier. It is also a fixed coordinate system that an attack submarine sitting inside it can exploit. 3 slow-moving contacts at known bearings, known depths, known speeds. 3 firing solutions that required no active sonar, no acoustic emission, no signal that would announce the hunter had become the hunted. The Los Angeles-class boat does not need to ping to know where something is. It listens, it calculates, it waits. Timestamp 3:46 a.m. On the surface, The Ford had not changed course, had not reduced speed, had not illuminated any active sonar that would tell the Iranian submarines they were being tracked. Everything above the waterline looked exactly as it had 4 minutes earlier. A carrier transiting the strait, routine, predictable. Below the surface, the geometry had completely reversed. The lead Iranian submarine crossed inside 8 nautical miles, then 7. At 6 miles, it crossed the threshold the tactical action officer had marked on the display, not a weapons release threshold, a communication threshold, a low-frequency acoustic signal, not a weapon, a message. The kind of signal that tells a submarine commander, in a language no surface ship can hear, that he is being tracked, that his depth is known, that his speed is known, that his bearing to the carrier is known, that the firing solution already exists, that what happens next is entirely his decision. Timestamp 3:47 a.m. The lead submarine slowed, then the second, then, after a pause that the sonar technicians on the Ford would later describe as the longest 19 seconds of their careers, the third. All 3 contacts held position, not retreating, not advancing, holding. The pause of a calculation being run by someone who had just discovered that the problem he thought he was solving had already been solved on the other side. Timestamp 3:51 a.m. They turned north, all 3, slowly the way they had come, patient, disciplined, professional, the kind of withdrawal that carries no panic because the crews understood exactly what they had encountered and exactly what it meant that they were being allowed to leave. The Ford did not change course, did not reduce speed, did not alter its track by a single degree through the entire engagement. The cost accounting of what happened in the strait that morning is almost clinical in its asymmetry. Iran committed 3 submarines, their crews, weeks of positioning and planning, and a tactical doctrine refined over years of studying American carrier operations. It gained 4 minutes inside the defensive perimeter of the most capable carrier strike group on the ocean, and a detailed understanding of exactly how quickly that perimeter responds. The Ford expended nothing. No weapons, no fuel, no significant change in the operational tempo of the strike group. What the attack submarine expended was a signal, acoustic, precisely targeted, professionally sent. Timestamp 4 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz remained open. The tankers kept moving. The Ford's crew sat down to breakfast on schedule. Somewhere north of the strait, 3 submarines ran quiet toward home, carrying a lesson that no Iranian naval wargame had ever fully modeled. That patience is a weapon, but it only works if the other side has not already been patient longer, deeper, and in exactly the right position. Silence, it turned out, belonged to both sides, and one side had been listening from the beginning.